One of my favorite days of the year. As Speaker, as a great-great-grandson of County Kilkenny, I have the privilege of hosting the annual Friends of Ireland Luncheon. This is a tradition that dates back to Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill. I can't tell you how much I look forward to welcoming the President and the Irish Prime Minister, which we refer to as Irishmen as An Taoiseach. It's going to be good food, it's going to be good company, and knowing me, some fairly lame jokes. Today, though, the House Budget Committee took up the American Health Care Act. It is the third committee to debate this bill as part of our ongoing open and transparent regular order process. We look forward to strong support there, putting us another step closer toward keeping our promise to repeal and replace Obamacare. From there, the bill will go to a fourth committee before it goes to the House floor. Lastly, as we have said from the start, repeal and replace will be a step-by-step approach. That is why yesterday the Majority Leader announced that the House will begin considering additional legislation. These include reforms like eliminating the antitrust protections that create more competition. This will help make sure that people are not left with few or no choices like we're seeing across the country. Allowing small businesses to pool together across the country, giving our small businesses more purchasing power so that they will have more choices and lower costs, and they'll be able to harness the power of bulk buying like large companies do. Medical malpractice reform. That helps prevent abusive lawsuits. It helps cut down on defensive medicine, which is another way we can lower costs and increase choices. These are just a few of the ideas, and these are ideas that we strongly believe in. They were part of our Better Way plan, but we know that we cannot advance all of them through the reconciliation process. That is why we are acting on these reforms separately, but also immediately, concurrently. We're not going to wait on these things. So you all remember the slide from last week. First, we pass our bill to repeal Obamacare's taxes, mandates, and spending, and we replace all that with reforms that build a better, patient-centered, market-based system. Second, Secretary Tom Price will take administrative actions to help lower costs and increase consumer choices and restore market freedom and states' rights. Third, we pass additional reforms, as I just mentioned, and there are others behind that, to further lower costs and increase choices for families. We're very pleased with where we are because we are on track and on schedule with where we've been intending to be this whole time. We've made a promise. We made a promise to repeal and replace Obamacare. We're going to keep our promise to the people that elected us. Questions?
Mr. Speaker, last night on Fox News, President Trump suggested that his assertion that President Obama wiretapped him
I thought you were asking an Obamacare question. Okay.
This is something the president and the center of the White House has had to deal with. The president suggested that this was based off of press reports. His accusation was based off of press reports. Are you comfortable with the president making an assertion like that based off of press reports? And frankly, do you believe him that he was wiretapped by President
Well,
Obama?
I've already answered the question about whether the wiretap occurred. And I think Devin Nunes and Adam Schiff answered that question pretty clearly. I got the same briefing with them on that as well. But after we heard about this, we did see a number of press reports that made this allegation, that made this suggestion. So, yeah, those press reports did exist. Frankly, I didn't know about it until I think Bret Baier asked me about it. So this is something I wasn't unaware of until we did see a few press reports on this. But the point is the intelligence committees, in their continuing, widening, ongoing investigation of all things Russia, got to the bottom, at least so far, with respect to our intelligence community that no such wiretap existed.
Do you believe the president, though, when he says, do you believe the president? When
I
he
didn't
says
see
that he
his
was wiretapped, when he says that he was wired, when he says that President Obama ordered wiretaps of Trump Tower, do you believe?
No, that's what I said. We've cleared that up, that we've seen no evidence of that.
Anna Edgerton from Bloomberg. I was wondering if you think that Congress will be able to pass the immediate $18 billion cut in discretionary spending for the rest of this fiscal year. And are you worried about a government shutdown over the cuts that were proposed in the budget sent today from President Trump?
So end of the fiscal year, we're at the BCA cap level. So I don't see a big issue there. We just got the president's budget submission just this morning. So this is the beginning of that step. What I'm encouraged by is the notion that we're going to begin rebuilding our military, which is something we're all very worried about, the hollowing out of our military. It's something that we believe in fixing. And so they just got this process started. So this is a long, ongoing process. This is the very beginning of the budget process. And no, I'm not worried about the end of the year. It's end of the year. August 28th is where the funding lapses. I'm not concerned about that. I think we'll hit our benchmarks.
A couple questions about the president and healthcare. One is lots of speculation that some of his allies don't like you, some of your allies don't.
This is news.
Some of your allies don't. To what extent are you two absolute partners every step of the way?
We are. I spoke with the president about a half hour ago. I speak with the president pretty much every single day. I spoke to him twice yesterday. So we are clearly in sync on this. We're working very hand in glove on this, and the president's team. So we're working extremely closely. I got to tell you, I am very pleased and very excited, and I got to tell you, it's something I haven't seen in a long time. This president is getting deeply involved. He is helping bridge gaps in our conference. He is a constructive force to help us get to a resolution so that we get consensus on how to repeal and replace Obamacare. It's been very helpful, and so we're working hand in glove, listening to the concerns of our members. As you know, now that we have our score, we can start making improvements and refinements. Clearly, the main parts of this bill are going to stay exactly as they are, but we're making those improvements and refinements based upon the feedback we're getting from our members. And the President of the United States is the one who's been mediating this. The President of the United States is the one who's bringing people together, sitting around a table, hashing out our differences so that we can get to a consensus document. The goal here is get to a bill that can pass, and that actually is great policy. And the President is playing a very constructive role on this. And literally hand in glove. Every day we talk, we compare notes. Our teams are fused and working together, and I'm very excited about that.
You've observed that he's unorthodox in some ways.
Yeah, he's unorthodox in ways. Of course he's unorthodox, and it's actually very constructive in many, many ways.
On healthcare, in what ways is it more likely that you'll pass the bill because he's unorthodox, and in what ways it might be a hindrance?
No, what I just said is he is making it easier and better for us to pass healthcare. The president, his involvement and his engagement, his listening and his negotiating skills are bringing people together so that we can pass a bill. So we have a bill that we can pass, get consensus on, and make good on our promises.
The fact that he tweets, the fact that he might bring up something about alleged wiretapping, is all of that unorthodox stuff? Is that helpful?
Sure, that's unorthodox. I think what the president, here's what I see that the president, did you see him yesterday in Detroit, in Tennessee? The president has a connection with individuals in this country. He goes, no offense, but he goes around the media and connects with people specifically and individually. This is a power that we haven't seen since Ronald Reagan. And so what this president is showing is that he knows how to connect directly with people. That helps us bridge gaps in Congress and get Republicans unified so we can deliver on our promises. And that is extremely constructive. Carrie.
Just a quick follow-up on this. You know, for the past few weeks, if not months and whatnot, we do hear about a lot of palace intrigue going on between you and the president. How often do you and Donald Trump address a lot of these reports that there's constant tension going on between both of you?
Yeah, there really isn't. So we talked about this. We talk about this fairly often, the president and I do. I would say that there is no intrigue, palace intrigue, divisions between the principals. I can't speak for low-level staffers. I can't speak for outside groups. But the principals, the chief of staff, the vice president, the budget director, the HHS secretary, the president himself, we're all on the same page. We talk constantly. Our teams are working together. So there really is no schism whatsoever. And of course, you're going to have this chattering class stuff. That just kind of happens in this day and age. It's something that A, isn't true, B, isn't intimidating or daunting to us in any way, shape whatsoever. I'm excited at the fact that we have a president who likes closing deals. We got a president who thinks bold, thinks big, wants to act, and wants to get us to the finish line, and he's being very constructive in doing that.
You've been arguing that your plan is going to inspire people to buy coverage because the premiums are going to be so much lower. But CBO actually says they're going to go up. They just won't go up as quickly as premiums under Obamacare. So how many people do you really think are going to be motivated?
So what CBO says is we'll bring some market stabilization in the interim. Remember, we said we're not going to pull the rug out from under people. We're not going to just end it tomorrow and nobody has anything. It will take time for markets to stand themselves up and offer new products in a new deregulated free market setting. So what CBO is saying is, not only are you going to be stabilizing the market in the meantime, you're not going to have catastrophic double-digit premium increases again. You're bringing those down. When your reforms kick in, premiums go down. And this is before we get to phase 2 or phase 3. The CBO estimate, which shows that our reforms, when they kick in, bring premiums down. But more importantly, CBO ignores, because they can't score, what Tom Price is going to do to further bring market competition and freedom, bring prices down. So we're very confident that this bill, which already shows will lower premiums, combined with the things that Price will do, and also state-based high-risk pools. Let me just go back to one thing, and it's hard to quantify. And we had a really good risk pool in Wisconsin. Utah had a very good risk pool. When you have a risk pool that covers the catastrophic costs of people with catastrophic illnesses, the rest of the insurers, the rest of the insurance pool don't have to pay for those costs. So by directly helping support the people who have pre-existing conditions with their catastrophic costs, all other insurance products don't have to price that into their insurance, and you dramatically stabilize and lower the price of insurance. Now, CBO can't quantify that right now because they haven't looked at, the new risk pool Wisconsin will be setting up as a result of this law. So we're very confident that we're moving the ball in the right direction. We're restoring market freedom. We think this approach is just much smarter and better on how to deal with getting costs down, improving access, including people with pre-existing conditions. You were the one I was pointing to earlier, sorry.
The repeal bill is silent on where members of Congress should get their health insurance when this new market exists. Obviously, that was an issue in Obamacare. Where do you think members should get their insurance?
I haven't given thought to that. I don't know the answer. When you get rid of Obamacare, you don't have Obamacare. We have Obamacare. We wouldn't have Obamacare. Yeah, I haven't given any thought to that. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Realizing you are the Speaker of the House and not the leader of the Senate, Senate Republicans have really dismissed this bill. It seems all but dead on arrival over in the Senate. How successful will you be as Speaker if your bill passes here, kind of makes it through the House, and then they sort of start from scratch over there? Realizing this is the legislative process, but you've got a lot on your plate. You've got a lot. How successful is that if it's...
I'm the Speaker of the House. I'm not the Majority Leader of the Senate. So my job is to move bills through the House. Let me describe to you in one word what all this is about and what is happening. Legislating. This is legislating. This is going through the regular order process. Here in the House, we're going through 4 committees. We constantly get feedback. We constantly get suggestions from members, and we're working at bridging those gaps to make improvements in the bill so that members, so we have a bill that can pass. And we feel like we're making great strides and great progress on getting a bill that can pass because it incorporates the kinds of feedbacks from members from all walks of life in our conference. I have not heard from those senators. The senators who've been critical of the House bill, none of them have called me, so I'm not sure what exactly their concerns are. All I would say is senators are not helpless with respect to the House. The House passes its bill, it sends it to the Senate, and then they get to take it from there. Senators, if they have a concern or an issue, are free to amend that bill when it goes over there. That's part of the legislative process. So I can't speak to why a senator doesn't want a bill to pass here or what, but they'll have every opportunity to make a change to this legislation because that's how legislation is written. House passes a bill, House amends a bill, sends it to the Senate, Senate brings up a bill, and then the Senate can amend a bill, and then we go to conference. That's the legislative process. How about, yeah.
On the president's budget, some of your Republican colleagues have voiced serious concerns about potential cuts to the State Department. Even the president's own defense secretary in the past raised some concerns. Are you concerned about the consequences of slashing the State Department budget?
Honestly, I haven't looked at the budget functions. That's Function 150. I haven't looked closely at what they're proposing in Function 150. But this is the beginning of the budget process. This is the thing that I've sort of immersed myself in for, 2 decades here. When a president submits a budget, that is the beginning of the budget process. Then it goes to the budget committees, then it goes to the appropriation committees, and we'll have a full hearing about how priorities will be met. But do I think we can cut spending and get waste out of government? Absolutely. Where and how and what numbers, that's something we'll be figuring out as time goes on. This is just the very beginning of that process. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Guarantee that you'll pass the health care bill? Brett